Hey there, fellow wanderers. Close your eyes and step into a world where time is measured by the rhythmic clack of looms and the ache in your shoulders. The air hangs heavy with the damp chill of stone walls, while your hands, cracked and calloused, move instinctively through coarse, unyielding fibers. The musty scent of wool weaves itself into every breath you take, mingling with the sharp tang of sawdust and smoke from a candle that barely holds back the dark. Around you, the looms speak. Soft wooden thuds echo like a slow, steady heartbeat. This isn't a place of poetry. This is a weaver's world, where every thread pulled is a prayer for warmth, for coin, for one more day. This is not a fairy tale. So, before we dive deeper, I ask only this. If this kind of raw, unvarnished truth speaks to you, click like, hit subscribe, and leave a trace of yourself in the comments. Tell me your city, your time, your state of mind. Now, dim the lights. Let the hum of your fan blend with the wind of centuries past. Let's begin. And remember, in medieval times, even survival was a luxury. As you trudge through the streets of a medieval village, damp with the morning fog, the town begins to awaken. The constant clamor of everyday life encircles you. The clinking of a blacksmith's hammer in the distance, the distant call of merchants setting up stalls, and the soft rustle of fabric being unfurled. Now, shift your attention to a small, shadowed corner of this vibrant tapestry, the world of the weaver. In a modest wooden workshop, a stout figure hovers over a loom, the rhythmic push and pull, creating a steady baseline to their existence. The loom is both a friend and a taskmaster, requiring a dance of hands and feet that never truly grows easier with time. It's said that after years of toil, a weaver scarcely closes their eyes without seeing threads looming, twisting, and dancing in their mind. There is no escaping the weave, quite literally. Even dreams take place on this fabric stage. But it's not just the physical demands of the work that suck the vigor out of you. The sensory overload in the weaver's domain is relentless. The musty, earthy scent of wool fills your nostrils and clings to your clothes, though sometimes you wish it didn't. The fibers scratch against your skin, leaving a constant itch that mirrors the push and pull of daily labor. A weaver's world is one laced with sounds too. The creaking of loom frames, the shuffling of feet, and the gentle murmurings of others sharing your toil. Your hands, however, are the most affected by this life, a weaver's primary tools. They are marked, hardened by years of contact with rough fibers. Corns and calluses cut across them like the landscapes on an ancient map, each linear scratch a testament to countless hours of dedication. And, heavens, the aches from repetitive movements, from leaning over looms, from pulling stubborn threads that refuse to align. Bodies of weavers often cry out in revolt, an unending symphony of Cro-Magnon grunts and winces. While your hands bear the physical marks of your trade, the reality of weaving intertwines with your very essence. Imagine, for a moment, rising each day knowing the same repetitive pattern awaits. The morning sun doesn't herald new beginnings, but signals the start of an unending cycle. Historians still argue whether this repetitive toil contributed to a certain stoicism found in medieval culture, or if it simply masked an underlying existential melancholy. The weaving trade, too, brings its own quirks. Did you know that besides wool, some weavers in medieval times employed nettle as a fabric? Now, what could possibly drag one's fancy towards such an unforgiving plant, prickly and known best for irritating skin, you may wonder? Yet, nettle fibers spun into surprisingly soft fabric, proving the ingenuity sparked by necessity. Beyond this innovation, the weaver's labor is peppered with prickly irritations of its own. Take, for example, the endless groan of your colleagues about the weather, or the price of dye, or worse, the latest whimsy in fashion decreed by nobility or royalty. Even as you chuckle at the mundane complaints, a part of you knows each could become a legitimate concern impacting your livelihood. As you let your gaze drift from the constant work, you see children playing just beyond the confines of your workshop's wooden slats. Their muffled laughter, carried on crisp morning air, reminds you of simpler times, when the loom did not yet rule life. But in this era, in your grown life's reality, there is little time for the joys of youth. Work comes first, and life spins around it like yarn around a spindle. And yet, despite these struggles, despite the aching muscles and tired spirits, there's something oddly entrancing about the weaver's craft. There's a satisfaction in watching your own handiwork unfurl in colourful patterns before you, even if the final product often leaves your possession for the market or a richer patron's house. It is, paradoxically, a point of pride. To create something practical, something tangible, amid the internal whirlwinds of constant hardship. In the grimy undercurrent of medieval life, the weaver's world isn't gilded or sugary. It's raw, it's unfiltered. The threads of your life weave themselves into every fabric you create, intertwining your story with that of thousands of other weavers recurrently tread on the path of medieval toil. Stepping deeper into the weaver's world, you find yourself enveloped by the omnipresent sound of the looms of doom, so to speak. The monotonous, rhythmic clatter they produce creates a constant backdrop, a symphony of repetition in a world where time stands still. Imagine the relentless thud, thud, thud as wooden parts woodpecker against each other day in and day out, a soundscape that threads itself into the very fabric of your life. Sometimes, if you listen closely, it almost mimics the clattering gallop of a distant horsenly. There's no night, no rescue, just the clatter. The loom is a marvel of engineering, yet its divinity offers no comforts. Its presence is commanding, demanding. Crafted meticulously from sturdy birch wood, it stands like a medieval monolith, an altar to productive toil. The loom's presence dominates the room, requiring physical strength and relentless stamina just to keep its hunger for thread satisfied. Some days you might feel as if you are appeasing a fearsome giant with each push of the pedal and pull of the shuttle. Each piece of the loom has its place and purpose. Wood whirls anchor threads with meditative spins, while a varied array of heddles and beams buzz and clack in a cacophony of woven punctuation marks. These intricate pieces together create an elaborate mechanism with which you dance a daily duotone that is full of grace, frustration, and above all else, routine. The loom is like a petulant creature, occasionally gifted with good temper, but oftentimes obstinate and unforgiving, jamming mats of threads together as if intentionally intent on having you unravel them in a maddening cycle. You find some comfort in recognizing that every weaver faces these same challenges. Whether nestled in the heart of a bustling town or tucked away in a remote village, every weaver knows the loom's whims and the price of meticulously overcoming each tangle. But don't fret this. Commonality cements a connection that spans the distance across medieval Europe, binding you to a brotherhood of craftsmanship. However, the loom's constant ticket and click aren't merely the background of your day, they are your day. The sound provides a rhythm that blurs the edges of time. Hours slip by, seamlessly knit together by the drumming pattern, until the only indication of their passage is the growing ache in your muscles. Truth be told, on especially long days, these aches are merely whispers, compared to the roaring symphony that occupies your mind. Considering the physical demands, it might surprise you to hear of a quirk that emerges among weavers, telling time by the loom. That's right, the sound and motion of the loom become like a medieval clock, helping you to gauge the passage of time without a single glance at the sun. The primal rhythm lulls you into a trance, an unfurling map of seconds and minutes. Yet here's a fun fact. Some given days could be remembered not just by the hours worked, but by the yarn patterns left unknotted. Forget not those who would sit, bleary-eyed, regaling tales of their worst day at the loom, when an entire wave of delicate lacework unravelled with one errant yank of a thread. Historians still argue whether the eternal dance with blunder and perseverance contributed significantly in shaping a weaver's inherent pragmatism, or if it sowed seeds of rebellion against the mundane malfunctions life flung at them. Moreover, the loom holds stories as mysterious as the ripples of water it hears at night. It wasn't just a tool. Sometimes, it was considered a portal to tales and gossip. It's whispered in side alleys that the creaking mechanism would sing the day's current events, loom judgments passed along the wooden beat. In that constant environment of fraught nerves, someone's snag might even play out like an operatic crescendo to your neighbor, interpreting entangled threads as a grand tale of fabrics and friction. As you ponder this connection, your mind drifts to those tactile tools that accompany you throughout. The shuttle glides back and forth in your hands, like an extension of your being. Its smooth, familiar shape nestles comfortably in your grip, a glimmer of control amidst chaos. Without it, you might feel unduly deprived, your balance skewed by a limb left absent. It cuts through threads like a diver through water, swift with practiced precision. And while it holds the power to mend, it too harbors the potential to unravel. On harsher days, you might find yourself wishing the looms might offer some respite pause, perhaps, from the endless march of days. But the looms will never stop. They bear witness to the passage of time and send each completed bolt of fabric into the world, a silent testament to a weaver's tireless nature. Over time, amidst clattering chaos, humility and pride bloom quietly beneath your daily strive. With each softening echo, you internalize small victories of expertise, forged within wooden confines. Yes, the melody of the looms holds much within their wooden operast, tangible materializing from labor's soulful grind. Few songs of history can boast such rawness within their rhythm and pattern. There it remains, the heartbeat of a weaver's existence. As you delve deeper into the world of medieval weaving, the raw materials, notably wool and flax, take center stage. Capricious and stubborn, these fibers are your constant companions, and working with them is akin to attempting to tame a wild beast with nothing more than your bare hands. The wool, fluffy and thick, might seem like a cozy proposition until you try spinning it into thread. That's where the real test begins, a contest of wills between human patience and raw material. Picture it. The wool arrives in its unrefined state, fresh from sheep that dot the countryside, bleating their daily grievances into the open air. But before it can become fabric, you'd need to comb it, smooth it, and coax those individual strands into a cohesive thread. The texture of raw wool is like moving through the dense undergrowth in a thicket where every step feels slightly unforgiving. As you work, a chorus of tiniest barbs in the wool tug back against your fingers, reluctant to let go of their tangled embrace. This tactile rebellion leaves your hands itchy, a reminder of the small irritations forming your daily reality. Sometimes, you can still feel the lingering dampness from the sheep's lanolin, which glosses your hands with an oily film that locks in the natural mustiness of the animal. It doesn't wash away easily and clings to you like an unseen second skin. Despite these challenges, wool holds a unique warmth that defies the biting cold drafts breezing through the cracks in your workshop. During harsh winters, that very same lanolin provides a paradoxical boon. Oily consistency is nature's own hand balm, guarding against the chill that seeps into the bones. It's these small mercies that make the toil bearable, where necessity transforms frustration into fleeting gratitude. Next in line is flax, a comparably more dignified fiber with its own secretive nature. Flax fiber originates from the humble linen plant, weaved into a material renowned for its strength and durability even today. Harvesting flax is a meticulous process, steeped in ancient farming traditions. You have to pull the entire plant from the ground, root and alla task demanding precision and care. After uprooting, they are left to dry in bundles, forming thinner stalks that seem to mimic the solid boniness of fingers pointing skyward in purpose. Once dry, the flax must be broken and combed through a hackle, an intimidating device resembling a medieval torture instrument. This process breaks down the hardy exterior, extracting the inner fibers, which yield an elegant thread. The hackling rhythm is full of clattering movements, and each pull-through results in straw flecks that scatter across your feet, gritty against your soles. For all its elegance, flax presents its own frustrations. During the warmer months, it can become frustratingly slick, reluctant to hold a spun twist. On humid days, however, flax practically sings from fingers with eager readiness, obliging to your deft spinning. It's part and parcel of the world you operate, within a world spinning on the edge of triumphs interspersed with small defeats. Coaxing these fibers into usable thread is indeed a challenge, but also a source of pride. Historians still debate whether the eventual quality of spun thread from raw materials like wool and flax distinguished master weavers in their time, hinting at the nuanced expertise required to produce the finest yields. Each twist through your fingers feels like the shaping of possibility from wild abandon into disciplined intent. As the years trickle by, you begin to appreciate that this taming process isn't just about fibers turning into fabric. It threads into you a keen understanding of patience and tolerance. Each spindle tells a tale of resilience, and every skein boasts victories over the seemingly impossible. Humorously, there's even a joke between weavers that every knot tied in haste adds 10 grey hairs an elegant hyperbole of the painstaking hours invested in their craft. It's natural to share an affinity with your fibers, akin to shepherd and flock. When hardship tempers familiarity into reverence, such bonds linger. After all, these materials have woven themselves into the tapestry of your life, as surely as you've tried weaving them into tapestries of cloth. As you labor under dim candlelight, fighting colder drafts, sneaking through slats, the warmth provided by spun fabric wraps around you, much like the tales of artisans, spinning craft and tapestry among faint whispers through generational shadows. The journey from fiber to fabric is more than just manual labor. It is transforming nature's bounty into something appreciated, something of worth a reminder that even in harsh existence, there is beauty to create and a legacy to leave with every thread. Through wool and flax, these fibers you've battled and bonded with become irrevocably tied to your story. They echo the persistence, patience, and ingenuity that define your woven world. Now, step into the pungent, vivid world of the medieval dyeing process, where color takes precedence, and the air around you is thick with strange and often overpowering aromas. It's here that the weaver becomes an alchemist of sorts, transforming raw, natural fibers into cloth rich with hues that captivate the eye and tell a story all their own. The world of dyeing is not just a craft. It's a delightful, and sometimes dubious, mingling of science, art, and let's face it, a bit of medieval madness. Imagine, if you will, holding a skein of yarn. It's bland, beige, unassuming, until dunked into a cauldron of bubbling dyes. This transformation seems almost magical as the color swirls and eventually infuses the yarn. But let us not be fooled, there is no pixie dust involved, just hard work, toil, and more than the occasional stained hand. Among the dyes, woad takes pride of place. It's responsible for that brilliant blue hue loved throughout the Aegisa, to color so cherished it was often used to denote noble status or wealth. Woad is extracted from the leaves of the woad plant, a humble herb that's far from fantastical. The smell it emits, however, during processing could surely wake the dead. It is pungent, acrid, with an eye-watering intensity that lingers in your nostrils long after the dye vats have cooled. Dyers joke that if you were ever lost, you could find your way back to the workshop by this singular woad scent alone. Beside its olfactory offenses, woad dyeing was a complicated process, involving preliminary fermentation that could rival any stench concocted in a medieval apothecary. Your hands would bear the distinctively blue marks of a day well spent, of a day spent scrubbing out rivals' blemishes in between dips. Adding to your dye arsenal is madder, a root that supplies vivid reds and oranges, infusing the fabric with the warmth of a summer sunset. Unlike the alchemical tribulations of woad, madder offered more finesse and less nasal assault. Its earthy and slightly metallic quality gives a grounded and soothed mood to the air. The process of extracting the dye involves boiling the roots, creating a veritable tea of tantalizing hues. The dangers involved in this trade are more than skin deep. The chemicals and pungent concoctions used in medieval dyeing often were toxic, taxing the health of those who handled them daily. Shallow vats of urine, indeed, played a role as a mordant ingredient that helped the dye adhere to the fibers. Imagine the atmosphere, a bright sheen of color trapped in aromatic hell. If only eau debasement could capture such essence. A dye master was not only skilled but daring. There's a whimsical tale of dyers who locked their heads behind conspicuously blue doors, as if to say here dwells a wizard of color. This color-crafting world didn't simply sit separate from society, but interwove itself with the very hierarchy of humanity. Purples for royalty, red robes for clergy, green for merchants. Every hue held a social cue, and to control color was to hold power. Historians still debate the exact recipes and processes used by medieval dyers, as they were often guarded with the ferocity of dragon-protected treasure. This secrecy created an air of excitement and danger around the dyeing profession. Each dyer possessed their own mysterious formula tucked away. Journals of dyed knowledge, warning against alarums of yellow, a warning against mustard, transmutates improperly. Despite the backbreaking nature of dye work, there were moments of pure delight. Imagine the joy of seeing a successful batch emerge from the vats in brilliant splendor. These dyed fabrics would take on a life of their own, traveling to distant markets, wrapped in demonstrations of the vibrancy and skill mastered within those walls. If you listen closely, you can hear the echo of jokes shared between dyers and weavers, the latter teasing their dye counterparts about their colorful, yet forever stained hands, or about the inescapable hints of ammonia that preceded their approach. These jibes were shared in good faith, a camaraderie woven between the fibers of community and labor. And so, as the day descends and the vats cool, the weaver stands back to admire the woven rainbow. It's easy to forget the guttural toils when met with such vivid rewards. And despite the odors and laborious rituals, the dyes did not merely color the fabric, they stained the artisans, their spirits forever painted with the legacy of their craft. In this woven world of dyes and delights, where magic was simply skill honed through repetition, you find yourself amidst medieval palettes that captured life's various shades and stories. Every hue not only highlighted fabric, but also traced through the history and heart of a culture. The moat of morning fog that usually clings to the town's cobblestones is beginning to lift, and with the fresh dawn comes the bustle and energy of a marketplace setting itself to its daily pace. As a weaver, your role extends beyond the confines of your workshop. You must transition from creator to vendor, venturing into the lively chaos of the medieval market. Here, the clamor of commerce echoes off stone-wrought walls, as colorful and diverse as the threads in your loom. The marketplace is a sensory overload, bustling with vendors, each vying for attention. Tinny laughter and the cawing calls of street hawkers layer over the bleating of sheep and the crisp noise of bartered banter. Your woven goods must compete for attention amidst the glitter of baubles, the sweet scent of baked goods, and the rich aroma of spices carried on the harried breath of traders going about their day. Setting up your stall is an art form in itself. You skillfully drape woven fabrics to catch the light, each piece telling its story through the interplay of color and texture. Timing this display of your craft is essential. Arrive too late, and you may find your choice spot claimed by a rival weaver, forcing you to situate alongside sellers offering their dubious pickled goods or briny buckets of fish. The scent of your careful presentation could easily be overshadowed. Once settled, the day becomes a dance of words and wit. Medieval markets were places where bargaining reigned supreme. Prices weren't fixed. They floated on the tides of conversation and cunning. As a weaver, you engaged in verbal sparring matches with prospective buyers, each haggling attempt a tightrope walk between pride in your craft and the harsh need to earn. There exists a peculiar kind of comedian in every market. It's not uncommon for buyers and sellers alike to share jests as they bargain. One in particular rings true. A gentleman has two pockets sewn for coins, the other for all the words needed to part with them. As you barter beneath the sun, you master this conversational calculus, for in your world, a well-timed jest or flattery can earn more than mere silver. You become part of a symphony of transaction, standing amid the chaos with humor stashed at the ready like weapons in an archer's quiver. Alongside the serious travelers, the storytellers roam amidst the market throngs, painting grand tales that echo the colors of your cloth with their spoken narratives. These troubadours spin their tales, suiting myth to merchant pitch, because in a market, stories too are currency. Into this multicolored confusion enters another medieval twist: market gauging. This was a ritual wherein established, intrepid monks, or clerks often, appointed by the church or town council, would oversee transactions to ensure indelible integrity. These were the original market monitors, measuring mercy for mischief with a sprightly determination, armed with their scales and scriptures. However, commerce at market was not all fun and games. Behind the buzzing activity, the specter of economic pressure loomed, particularly with the ever-present dangers such as counterfeit coinage or deceitful bargaining that could unravel an entire day's work like a poor thread in a tapestry. Historians still argue about the extent and impact of counterfeit goods and fraud during medieval times. Were these criminal acts rife, or were they the exception rather than the rule? Whatever the case, as a weaver, your vigilance was a silken thread holding your finances together. Beyond sales, the market was also your portal to the outside world. It connected your small corner of medieval life to the broader tapestry of cities, even countries you may never visit. You overheard of boats arriving with new dyes from the east, furs from northern lands, and silk so fine it was as though it belonged in another realm. Such tales were a balm to the monotony back home. You'd weave your aspirations right into the pattern, a hope for better fortunes. Yet, amidst the ebb and flow of market activity, you craft and nurture relationships with shrewdness subtly woven into each interaction. Regular patrons learn to seek you out, perhaps for the unique treadle work that's earned some humble renowner for that familiar dash of humour with which you've become synonymous, a currency in itself within this bustling economy. By day's end, as shadows stretch longer beneath the vendor tarps and merchants pack away their unsold wares, here lies your moment for reflection. You find your mind tracing through which exchanges sparkled brightest and which frayed at the edges. Each market day brings both casting a net for potential patrons and pulling back a thread to entangle future loyalties. And so you pack your unsold fabric, the tapestry of your day complete, one strand running into each subsequent visit to market. This vivid, sensory spectacle blends humdrum with novelty, trading toil for treasure, albeit a modest allotment. Here, enfolding present lives into the mercantile mass, and merging moments in cloth and chatter, a weaver toggles between known quiet and market madness. In fabric, you've captured a slice of life only possible through the kaleidoscope of the medieval marketplace. As you meander from the vibrant medieval market, where haggling and humour intertwined, the shadowy grasp of taxes and tithes begins to encroach on your well-earned profits. The sound of coins clinking softly in your pouch has a way of highlighting the persistent burdens that await. In the medieval world, no weaver could escape the grasp of the tax collector or the demands of the church. They hovered like spectres, ensuring their cut of your labour. Let's face it, few things are more reliable in their relentlessness than a tax in medieval society. A weaver had to navigate a bewildering matrix of dues and tithes, each designated to fill the coffers of local lords, monarchs, and religious institutions. These economic tributaries were as tangled as the threads upon your loom. And just like threading a loom, one wrong move could lead to a veritable knotty disaster. Picture standing beneath the vaulted arches of a town hall or chapel, the air heavy with a mix of incense and stone, clutching your small purse only to relinquish hard-earned coins to stern-faced collectors. Those first few coins dump heavily into the collector's coffer, a sound not unlike the thud of the loom itself, though far less rewarding. Tax collectors of the medieval period weren't necessarily known for their merciful natures. Often, the royal cadre employed their own methods to ensure compliance, crafted deftly around coercion more than encouragement. Humorously enough, there's an old saying among weavers about tax seasons: the only sure things in life are a knot in your thread and a knock on your door. Beyond taxes, you also face the tithe, mandatory donation of 1/10 of your income to the church. From a moral perspective, it was meant as a spiritual contribution, a gesture of goodwill intended to secure salvation and support the maintenance of the church's benevolent activities in society. However, given your modest earnings, this often skewered your finances, stretching them thinner than a weft through linen. The church, in its omnipresent position, wielded profound influence over medieval life, and it took its share without discretion. As coins clink into the church's dark, echoing coffers, they serve to fund not only local parish endeavours, but also far-reaching papal ambitions, which even weavers, in their industry, inadvertently supported. Historians still hotly debate whether these tithes were directly instrumental in the church's lavish construction projects, buttressing grand cathedrals with the coins gathered from humble workers. Nevertheless, as a weaver, you might find yourself at times pondering the celestial links your coins have woven, wondering if your threads helped lay the golden embroidery somewhere within a greater ecclesiastical tapestry. In practical terms, both taxes and tithes went hand in hand, gnawing away at the little buffer your savings afforded against the potential misfortunes of medieval life, whether they be lean trade seasons or unexpected calamities. Crops failed, diseases spread, and across Europe, kingdoms waged wars demanding fiscal funding. Economic survivability required ingenuity, and some thrifty souls came up with clever loopholes or distractions to avoid complete destitution. Bartering remained a common and versatile practice, assuming an officer wasn't looming over every shoulder, circumventing cash transactions, and thereby keeping coin clinks at bay. Others sought patronage from the local nobility, exchanging goods for chateau patronage and ephemeral sense of protection in exchange for loyalty and allegiance, alongside a few bolts of fabric. However, the spectre of penalties always loomed for those failing to pay. Ridicule, or worse imprisonment, were potential fates for the non-compliant. Just the thought of landing in damp cells where sunlight scarcely offers reprieve is enough to scare most weavers to toe the line, albeit while harbouring terse mutterings towards overlords. In the quiet of your workshop, after returning from the marketplace, you can finally take stock of your earning and spendings, hoping to conjure some semblance of financial balance. As the evening breeze drifts through open windows, the well-worn routines briefly slip away, letting your mind wander to thoughts of a world free from such burdens. Perhaps somewhere in that imaginary world, coins and colour alike flow without hover of collection, unfurling endless opportunities bathed in golden hues, where trade thrives and tax day never comes. In the medieval world, though, dreams must retreat behind the loom again, and tomorrow brings another day of weaving. The tedium of taxes and tithes stands as a constant reminder that even the weaver's art cannot escape the intricate design of life's grimmer realities, etched into time's tapestry with threads of obligation and survival. In medieval weaving, as you might suspect, the loom was not merely a tool of industry, but a symbol reflecting the era's stringent gender roles. As the fabric of society wove together notions of work, family, and class, the intricacies of gender defined many lives, particularly so in the world of weaving. Take a moment to visualize the backdrop set against your labor. The rhythmic clatter of the loom, the soft shuffle of feet across worn wooden floors, and at the very heart, the women who kept these miraculous machines of production clattering tirelessly. Indeed, weaving was among the few trades where women played a significant role, a craft woven into the warp and weft of domestic life. Unlike more mannered pursuits where societal ceilings confining women's labor were far lower, the loom allowed a degree of autonomy for which many women elsewhere could only wish. However, such freedom was often couched in endless toil under conditions that kept ambition carefully tethered. Picture the scene. Women deftly navigating complex tasks at home or in a communal weaving house, fingers racing across the threads with a dexterity honed by countless hours. They manipulate the taut frame of the loom, a movement that somehow embodies both grace and grit. This skill, however, was gained at the cost of time that might otherwise be claimed for self-exploration or leisure. Their relentless labor provided a vital contribution to the household and the broader societal economy. However, despite their significant presence in the trade, women weavers often remained uncelebrated, their work categorized under duties expected of their gender, rather than as skilled craftsmanship deserving recognition. In this societal fabric, the harsher critics described their output simply as an extension of household responsibility rather than artistry. Such narratives clung to cultural expectations like burrs, fierce in their resilience. A matter of debate, even among historians, remains whether the autonomy this work offered was overshadowed by the patriarchal constraints imposed upon it. Certainly, weaving extended duties rather than breaking new ground in women's liberation. But for many, it nonetheless provided an acceptable segue into realms of self-sufficiency that were regrettably absent elsewhere. Consider also that weaving was often a family affair. In some households, weaving looms occupied central spaces around which everything else turned. Everyone, regardless of age or gender, played a defined role. The rhythmic snapping of looms set the pulse of daily life. While it could be a source of unity, with the family bound tighter through shared experiences, ergonomic misfortune could also turn the loom into a bone of contention. And then, of course, there was the social axis of the guilds originally established to protect trades, now entwined with gender-based barriers. Female weavers found little opportunity in guild hierarchies, facing exclusion or limits on addressable markets that their male counterparts could access more freely. In memory, one weaver described this exclusion in jest as spinning yarns only to make curtains, quite literally, to the world. Oh, despite these grievances, the loom opens a vibrant world of possibilities. In poetic irony, it is under these conditions that women weavers found ways to subtly subvert gender norms, using patterns and textiles to secretly express views, sentiments, or desire for change. What history did not grant verbally, art provided through silent commentary whispered between weaves. There's even a whimsical tale told about a clever weaver who, reputedly, wove pleas for mischief into tapestries bound for royal consumption. Whether that garnered rebellion or just a moment's disruption over text is unclear. But in a world where communications were often uphill battles regardless of gender, such tales sheer laughter and hope. Yet, time marches on, unyielding as loom frames twined with resolves shaped into coherent cloth. With open scholarly debate found on how weaving impacted women's societal roles, one thing remains unequivocal. The contributions of women in medieval society were ingrained with both practical and quiet defiance. As twilight descends and production slows, the chattering of the loom morphs into the soft hush of closing time. Here, gathered tales are stitched through shared smiles and hopes, words woven in the solace of common endeavor. It is through these threads of perseverance, laid carefully upon the loom's scaffolding, that women weavers of the medieval age left an indelible mark. The dance of foot and finger might not have shattered ceilings, but it unveiled a tapestry resilient enough to wrap quiet trodden voices with yearning influence-excellent tapestries, speaking volumes on unwavering grit in the woven whirlwind of life. As the tapestry of medieval weaving unfurls further, we turn our gaze to the eager yet often beleaguered apprentices who populate this landscape. Young souls driven by dreams of mastering the loom while navigating the gauntlet of apprenticeship. In this dynamic world where learning was hard-earned and opportunities tightly measured, apprenticeships represented both a coveted opportunity and a rite of passage fraught with trials. Imagine, if you would, a young apprentice standing at the threshold of a bustling weaving workshop, the air vibrating with the steady whir of spinning wheels and the rhythmic clatter of looms. The air is thick with the scent of freshly carded wool and perhaps a hint of the lunchtime stew simmering nearby, a melange of sensory stimuli that beckons them into this vibrant world. This is where the journey begins, where one learns the craft not through books but through observation and repetition under the watchful eyes of seasoned weavers. For an apprentice, the journey is as tangled and complex as the patterns they aspire to weave one day. The lengthy hours spent in the workshop were not filled solely with the artistry of weaving. Rather, they were a blend of menial tasks, slow learning curves, and tenacious patience. Tasks alternated between the tedious and the instructional. Sorting fibers, preparing looms, cleaning workshops, and watching seasoned weavers at work, absorbing every hand movement and technique like a thirsty sponge. Picture the cacophony of a typical day. Apprentices hustling to deliver yarn, struggling with unruly heddles, or scuttling to fulfill the master's requests. Indeed, beneath the humbled facade of an apprentice lies a keenness to prove their worth and earn the esteemed status of journeyman. Through sharp eyes and nimble fingers, every maneuver must unfurl deftly to evade the gruff dissatisfaction of their mentors. The mentorship relationship is pivotal, sometimes veering towards stern discipline. Masters were demanding, their reputation resting on the caliber of fabric produced. The apprentice was, after all, both a representative of this quality and a symbol of future potential for the craft's continuity. While a stern word or a chastising glance might accompany a mistake, it's this pressure that eventually molds raw aptitude into skilled craftsmanship. One can find humor in the small tales of apprentices, learning the harsh lesson of misplaced focuser shuttle, missed by mere centimeters, zooms into comedy, leading to unwoven sections unraveling before their eyes. This isn't to say congregating failures halos every attempt, but each comedic instance smooths the learning process, realigning clutching hands with purposeful resolve. Historically, apprentices often lived under their master's roof, their lives intertwined with the household's rhythms. Learning was thus not confined to the mechanics of weaving, but extended into the tapestry of daily living. Their diet, schedule, and often sleepless whims accorded less to personal desires and more to the gauntlet of household obligations and the austere mandates of their craftsman authority. Retrospectively, it's intriguing that such humbled beginnings, cloaked in tutelage, grew into mastery through so small margin to err. Historians still debate the precise nature of apprentice training contracts and the breadth of their societal implications. Were these relationships purely transactional, or did they sometimes blossom into familial ties? The answer may vary from one workshop to another. However, within these tutelage structures, bonds were certainly forged, sometimes breaking barriers of caste or kin. Beyond the cloistered spheres of apprenticeship, they were also privy to the broader world of trade. Taking part in market days, apprentices witnessed firsthand the intricacies of wool trade. The skillful haggling it became an anthropological classroom of sorts, far beyond the reach of a loom's embrace. As days blend together, apprentices accumulate a trove of stories articles of both personal victories and instructive mishaps, woven with defiance against monotony. By the end of their apprenticeships, these young weavers emerge with a portfolio of patterns etched into muscle memory, fingers blossoming with calluses, but also with experience and pride earned through perseverance and quiet mastery. And as twilight sweeps across the medieval landscape, returning again on darting light beams, we imagine them standing at the hearth of opportunity, ready to serenade the softer songs of creating, with renewed self-assurance, ready to contribute their verse to history's textile opus. Eager hands poised to carry tradition forward, each thread a testament to hardship endured, and lessons well learned within the clandestine embrace of ageless looms. In the tapestry of medieval life, the weaver's reality was not static, but lived at the whimsy of progressor pageant of evolving technology that ebbed astonishingly slowly in the weaving world. Innovation here was like a cautious traveler, timid of change, inching forward over centuries instead of days. As a weaver, you lived on the cutting edge of incremental advancement, where the simplest refinement could spell glory or disaster. Picture the medieval loom in its sturdy wooden glory. It might resemble an intricate beast whose structure was designed to transform humble fibers into intricate tapestries, and yet it remained largely unchanged for centuries. While grand innovations swirled through castles and cities portentous with the clangor of metalworks or the tales of far-flung explorers, the weaver sat at the helm of the loom's gently bending bow, steering it through swathes of time, wrought slow as syrup in the making. Weaving mechanically is an artisan's orchestration, where hands and feet coordinate against elaborate wooden architectures. Despite such craft, the reliance on manual manipulation, often across multiple people, posed limitations that those with a mind for improvement sought to dismantle with varying degrees of success. Indeed, it's fascinating how certain minor adjustments attempted by inspired minds held promise. The introduction of treadles replaced hand-pulled cords, leaving weavers to operate looms with synchronized footwork. Although initially many weavers grumbled about looming machinery, upsetting the rhythm they'd so religiously honed, others embraced the change. In jest, it was said that treadles put the dance into weaving long before lively musicians played beneath banners of wool on market days. From time to time, communities whispered of ingenious devices popping up, designed by adventurous inventors or master craftsmen who dared to experiment beyond convention. A woven legend spins about an early prototype, bearing similarity to the drawloom, beast of an invention, threaded with pulleys, uncertain and stoic heddlespromizing, increased complexity in pattern, weaving yet often delivering frustration over perfection. There's a delightful irony conspicuous in the tensions between weavers yearning for ease and tradition's reluctant hold quandaries, reminiscent of delighting in a carrot on a stick, all while grumbling at its distance beyond the common field of reach. Textiles remained concurrently enthusiastic and skeptical of mechanical meddling, tinkering at hand-spun methods, as a misguided surgeon might tinker beneath a knight's robust bones. And with every potential enhancement came debate. Historians still argue whether progress in loom technology significantly enhanced productivity or if it instead peddled formidable disruptions capable of unsettling labor monopolies. To a medieval weaver, though, whispers of skeletal wooden revolutions felt akin to listening into misadventures illumined by fleeting torch across silent, dank towers. The struggle lay not only within mechanical aspirations but also in the psychology of innovation, as reflected in community biases, where inventions faced the trial of acceptance. It was a delicate balance indeed, not only persuading fellow weavers who might rear vehemently against what they perceive as relentless change, but also convincing hubristic patrons eyeing bottom lines or burial plots quarried before their time. Despite looming fears, one cannot forget how the best ideas occasionally crossed lands, safely harbored within the minds or journals of traveling craftsmen and merchants seeking fresh shores for influence. Ideas were exchanged like currency, sometimes sticky with remnants of long journeys and dialect disguise, albeit offering glimmers of improvement across weavers' toil. Ultimately, while grand leaps in mechanical weaving lay beyond reach of medieval ambition, awaiting a future where industrial rev might beckon curious dreamers, the weaving world hiccuped towards betterment, wrapped in the drape of every thread crossing the shuttle's path. Embracing change meant retaining spirit's cadence, to hear the throbbing beat of tradition wrapped beneath the crackle of evolutionary whispers. As the extended shadow of twilight envelops the workshop, listen closely. You might hear the whispered stories of tentative trepidations and enthusiasm sweeping over the still clattering loom. A weaving dance performed through time adorned with tension's pulse and daring innovative pace stands ready to witness each patient step forward, every loom-crafted day, allowing threads of fabric to ripple back toward past achievements and future asides. Thus, the story of the medieval weaver continues to weave itself through the annals of time, colored by patient craft and the promise of invention trodden on looms. As the medieval age unfurls its secrets, keep your gaze upon the shadowy corridors of the Weavers' Guild's world within a world, offering a cleverly wrapped enigma of opportunity and constriction. These guilds, gilded in protectionist garb as much as hospitality, wielded power over the craftsmanship with an influence as deft as freshly spun silk, holding sway over the intricacies of how, where, and for whom one could weave. To belong to a guild, to walk within the sturdy embrace of this merchant fraternity, was both an allure and a necessity fraught with onerous demands. You imagined the guild halls, dimly lit by flickering candles, echoing with the murmured conversations of experienced hands, exchanging whispered tales of trade, and the unspoken nods of respect, painstakingly earned. Yet behind these welcoming facades lay rigid stratagems, guardians of tradition clothed in robes of rules. Joining a guild wasn't just a contractual obligation, it was an oath, a life, leaving strand upon the loom of your years. Here was an alliance pledging mutual benefit. The backbone of any guild was a pledge to shield its members from unfair competition and to offer solidarity in negotiations. However, this safety net was laced with intrigue. Acquiring membership often required proving one's merit through arduous startup rites and examinations more grueling than satisfying. The cost of guild membership was substantial, sometimes requiring a significant fraction of one's income simply for the privilege of declaring guild allegiance. Monthly dues and regulations carved out new patterns for economic anxiety, like an unraveling weft disrupting the loom's steady clatter. The guild's coffers swelled with contributions of its woven kin, serving as support during lean times, yet demanding homage through every month, without fail. Loom house mischief has its jests, famously attested by those quipping that textiles stand at the intersection of necessity and guild plotting. Who doesn't love poking fun at the absurd intricacies? A joke might go thusly: what's red and blue and charges dues? A weaver's fabric and his guild, twofold trouble on the loom. Beyond the finances, though, lay another obstacle: rules, woven to stifle as much as to protect. The guild had the authority to dictate exactly how a weaver plied their trade. From the materials one might choose, to the designs one's creative spark might energize. Innovation was met with skepticism. Every new technique or pattern bore scrupulous examination by guild elders, guardians ever wary of shortcuts and disruptions to age-old tradition. Despite this potential strangulation, guilds provided unequivocal benefits. Historians often debate their precise impact, pondering whether guilds catalyzed craft purity or hampered independent progress. Within their fearsome reach, guilds enabled hefty contracts with prestigious clients and often enjoyed exclusive rights to local markets, keeping external competition at bay. Benefits easily overshadowing individual desires for autonomy when mere survival danced here. Moreover, in a world where life's fragility is a stark reminder, guilds provided a much-needed social safety net. This sense of community added a comforting overlay to the looming singularity of continual toil. If sickness or misfortune disrupted one's ability to work, the guild stepped in, a collective shoulder absorbing burdens momentarily. For artisans alone or far from family, this fellowship was a lifeline during the darkest times. The most enigmatic guilds, cloaked in secrecy, inspired epic bardic tales rhapsodizing guild misadventures, colourful recounting glinting tantalizingly at conspiracy or concealed heroism. Did guild members ever conspire with town councils against rival cities, or celebrate shadowy exploits about distant degenerate excesses given form amid looms of fate? Shall you learn if myth births here, or misfiled account? As you wrap yourself in the nightfall and step back into a workshop slowly dimming under waxing moonbeams, you may imagine others squinting alongside candlelight's flit, thoughtfully contemplating their place within this patchwork tapestry, reflecting upon paced breaths amid the guild's whispering vestiges. Here, within these controlled confines, exists a balance between the autonomy of weaving one's destiny and the anchored reassurance that the guild provides. Through this entwined journey of threaded adversity, the guild portrays a successful weave. Admire the warp it supplies and accept the weft of regulation. The craft, tapestry-like, transforms toward acknowledgement, fearing dawn might reveal both progress and constraint. In turning fabs to fable amid the rigid slats, hometown guilds abound, their paths ever carrying down life's winding halls. Their legacy, an enigmatic question woven across the pages of history. As the loom clatters on, step further into the world where religion interweaves with the rhythms of labor. Within medieval society, faith wasn't merely a backdrop, it was the tapestry itself, every thread, every knot, infused with divine implication. Particularly for weavers, the church cast a long shadow over the loom, dictating the cadence of work with centuries-old religious traditions and obligations. The church's influence extended throughout daily life, melding seamlessly with the cyclical obligations of weaving. It was a fixture as constant as the morning sun or the familiar sigh of the wind through gabled chimney pots. Whether in bustling towns or quiet hamlets, the church bells tolled the hours, setting the tempo of life with chimes that echoed like whispers from on high, reminding each soul of their place within the grandiose celestial design. For weavers, Sundays and religious feast days punctuated the weekly grinder mandate for rest and reflection. These days offered an interval where weaving tools lay dormant, threads falling slack for a pause in the relentless pursuit of fabric creation. Yet in this pause lay a duty. One was expected to serve spiritual contemplation over commerce. That pause became an intricate dance, a reminder of one's place in both divine and earthly hierarchies. There's a well-worn joke in towns seasoned by time. If God rested on the seventh day, then let it be known he wasn't a weaver. This whimsical assertion conveys a simple truth. Whether divine or mundane, rest remained an elusive luxury. On Saints' Feast, days often requiring more than a mere moment at the altar, workshops stood empty, their cacophonous energy replaced with echoes of communal prayers sung in humble stone chapels. Beyond the sermon's crescendo, vibrant parades spilled into curving streets, with vibrant colors mimicking the lush fabric once alive under deft hands. These days, while joyous, were a bittersweet gift-offering, communal gathering and gaiety, but underscored by augmenting the gap in one's personal ledger. While carrying implicit tranquility, such religious observances weren't optional, they were mandated. The church wielded power over time itself, bestowing its decree enforced by canon. Failure to observe such edicts often met with rigorous penance or rebuke from clergy, who gauged devotion with fervent eyes, not unlike guild overseers calculating precise weaving quotas. Historians still puzzle over whether these embedded religious controls provided spiritual solace amidst life's unpredictability or covertly undercut economic vigor by constraining productive days. Yet for a weaver standing at their loom, absorbing that enriched hum of devoted discipline, such debate fades against the need for adaptive conformity. Beyond calendrical stipulations lay the promise of divine patronage. Weavers inherently sought that sacred protection in creating something from seemingly nothing. Legend held that Saint Clare of Assisi herself wielded divine might by spinning woolen threads into fine linen zivery piece, commissioned with silent homage, every finished fabric pledging a piece of faith's woven essence. Additionally, religious inspiration crossed purpose with ingenuity. The Church's demand for intricate tapestries and ritualistic garb elevated weaving into an art form punctuated by awe-inspiring precision and tireless devotion. Some murmured that the very fingers threading these masterpieces bore blessed touch. Ethereal grace presented itself in vibrant color and dynamic pattern, alive on sacred altar cloths adorned with narrative purpose. The ultimate paradox for weavers was balancing the earthly drive for earnings with an ongoing spiritual duty, fostering a life where material gain limned against divine purity. The loom's clatter mingled with the soul's whispered pleas, the friction balanced by anticipating heaven's promises. And so, as night falls once more upon the medieval landscape, crowned by churches bearing witness beneath a jeweled sky, the weaver, in contemplative prayer, sits amongst shadow-embraced vesture. Here, theological fabrics thread seamlessly together with labor's legacy, beneath narratives archived in silence and echoed by the loom eventually rendered mute. Through zealous rituals, faith and industry become eternally entwined, crafting garments worn by tradition and transformation ally, a testament to perseverance, where work becomes virtue immersed against woven tides. As you delve further into the world of medieval weaving, the shifting seasons reveal their relentless grip on daily life. Each time of year brings its own challenges and dictates how weavers toil. With nature playing the role of both ally and adversary, its influence as intricate as any pattern woven on a loom. Imagine for a moment the stark chill of winter seeping through the thin walls of your workshop. The pervasive cold nips at your fingers, leaving them stiff and less responsive to the delicate work of handling fine fibers. The glow from a meager hearth casts long shadows, its warmth struggling to penetrate the frosty air that seeks to claim dominion over your space. Wool becomes your companion here, its comforting presence shielding against the frigid drafts that sneak beneath doors and through cracks. Yet, despite its warmth, the process of weaving is laborious. Fingers tangle and snag more easily, and every movement seems to require an additional push against the creeping lethargy that cold induces. With each passing season, you find yourself bound by nature's whims. In spring, as life beyond your loom awakens, the damp air offers its own challenges. Moisture in the atmosphere can drive fibers to swell and tangle, making the process of spinning and weaving a test of patience and resilience. However, the promise of warmer days infuses a hopeful lilt to your step, urging you to persevere through this mucky start. The smell of wet earth and budding leaves perfumes the air, weaving nature's own tapestry on the senses. Summer, for all its brightness, doesn't offer an escape from toil. The sun beats down with a relentless fervor, turning your workshop into a sweltering realm of sweat and stamina. The heat transforms delicate work into a near Herculean task, each motion blurred with perspiration, fabric clinging uncomfortably to damp skin. But on the upside, this season allows you to work longer hours, the extended daylight granting precious extra time for your craft. The rhythmic clatter of looms mingles with the cheerful chirping of birds and the distant laughter of children playing in the street, a reminder of life beyond the loom's embrace. The arrival of autumn is a welcome change, heralded by cool breezes that tease at the fringes of overheating labor. The rustle of fallen leaves underfoot parallels the whisper of fabric slipping through fingers, and the smell of harvest-ripe apples and drying hay drifts into your weaving house. It's a time for reflection, as the bounty of nature becomes a fleeting companion once again, signaling the inevitable return to winter's grip. Seasonal changes affect not only the comforts of working conditions, but also the materials with which you work. Wool grows thickest in anticipation of winter, requiring preparation before it becomes workable fabric. This labor, earthy and grounding, follows the rhythm of the seasons, shearing in the spring, spinning in the summer, weaving by fall, and adorning one's self against winter's chill. The seasons also dictate market activities. During warmer months, trade flourishes as roads become more navigable, allowing access to distant markets. Conversely, the winter months freeze not only waterways but traffic, trapping merchants and compelling a reliance on communities closer to home. Stocking up for these periods becomes crucial, each thread count meticulously weighed against the needs of impending scarcity. There's an old proverb among weavers that speaks to nature's cycles. The loom waits for no man, yet all must heed the seasons. It's both a challenge and a comfort, a subtle reminder that every artisan finds themselves bound to the same universal rhythm. Historians still argue over the extent climate changes altered. Medieval economics were advances in agricultural practices revolutionary, or did frosty misadventures hold greater sway upon weavers as mercurial comedies amid somber hallways? In a strange way, the constant presence of nature offers not merely challenges, but companionship to the solitary weaver. With it comes mindfulness, a reminder of the world beyond each woven thread, a testament to life's resilience echoing through time. The knowledge that seasons come and go offers both perspective and wisdom, knowing when to dig in, when to endure, and when to celebrate the renewal brought by each rebirth. As the shadows lengthen and the day's work concludes, you find solace within the woven stories told not only by loom and hands, but by the shifting dance of seasons, casting their textured patterns on the tapestry of medieval life. These are the threads that bind nature to nurture, her rhythms guiding your steps much like a silent partner across a worn wooden floor, ensuring your life's legacy is spun in simple synchronicity with time and nature's eternal waltz. In the tapestry of medieval weaving, the notion of family intertwines with the very fabric of daily existence, forming a vital thread that supports the weaver's craft. The workshop becomes not just a place of production, but the heart of a familial endeavor, where each member contributes to the intricate dance of creation. Imagine, if you will, a modest room filled with the soft clatter of looms, the hum of activity, and the presence of generations all playing their part. The family weaving enterprise is a microcosm of medieval life's interdependence, where every hand, regardless of age or experience, has a role to play. Young children, with their nimble fingers and boundless curiosity, are often given simple tasks suitable for their abilities. They learn to sort fibers, untangle knots, and perform the myriad of small duties that require patience and precision, all the while absorbing the rhythms and rituals of weaving as naturally as breathing. The elder generations, guardians of tradition and know-how, hold a pivotal role as well. Their knowledge, accumulated through years of toil, offers guidance and resolution for the problems every weaver encounters. With a simple touch or a knowing glance, they dictate workflows and point out imperfections, their wisdom woven into each strand, ensuring the craft's continuity across generations. The daily work of weaving is punctuated by the gentle dialogue of family life. Conversations blend seamlessly with the harmonious clatter of looms, whether it's a parent instructing a child on the proper tension of a thread, or a spouse teasingly chiding a partner for yet another tangled mess. Laughter and light-hearted jest carry through the air as naturally as dust motes, dancing in the light that filters through window slats. It is within these familial bonds that the craft finds its richest interpretation. Despite its warm bustle, the family workshop is no idyllic haven. It is a place where economic realities constantly interlace with personal dynamics. Disagreements arise when resources stretch thin or when external demands outweigh capacity. Financial strain can test the fabric of family ties, threatening to unravel the supportive network that bolsters the enterprise. Historians often ponder whether such economic pressures within family businesses worked as a cohesive force or a source of tension in medieval communities. In this family setting, the role of women is particularly significant. They often mediate between production and domestic duties, weaving together the threads of daily life with tireless diligence. Their profound contributions extend beyond the loom. Their hands also guide children, prepare meals, and maintain order in the household, forming connections between the domestic and professional realms in a seamless tapestry of busyness. Through collective labor, families learn valuable lessons in negotiation, balancing the sharing of responsibilities with the individual strengths and weaknesses of each member. This collaboration imbues the craft with a sense of shared purpose, strengthening family bonds through both triumphs and trials. The familial weaving enterprise reflects not only the dynamics of individual households, but also the ripple effect of community. Other families might readily offer help during times of illness or hardship, forming a network of support that knits together the communal fabric. Such acts of reciprocity are essential in a world where survival is precious, reminding each craftsperson of their place within a larger, interwoven society. The humor of this familial setting isn't lost on those involved. The playful teasing between siblings echoes the slapstick of a shuttle whizzing off course, or a bundle of yarn suddenly, and inexplicably, reduced to a knotted heap. Weavers often quip, "The loom has ears, but only our arguments," illustrating how even the surrounding wood takes in the family melodrama with resigned acceptance. As day gives way to twilight, the family gathers for a simple meal, seated around a table where their hard-woven cloth graces its surface. Peering out, you sense the gentle satisfaction found in sharing both worry and warmth, laughing at today's mistakes, and celebrating moments rendered soul-durable despite such pervasive simplicity. Thus, in the family weaving house, hearts synchronize with the loom's steady rhythm, each member young and old contributing to the pattern's living legacy. Threads stretched between these interned walls become lifelong testament to collaboration's resilience. When echo meets ether at day's end, familial gratitude threads highlights through any muted misadventure, their ceaseless appreciation, laying the foundation softer than unfurled wool. Here rests an unsung celebration, pulsing amidst heartbeats entwined in supple soul, forming the life-giving warp and weft of their shared journey. As we continue unfolding the world of the medieval weaver, take a moment to shift your focus beyond the immediate confines of the workshop and local market. Picture this. Threads from distant lands are converging, unfurling in a vast tapestry of trade where weavers face not just local competition, but also the formidable weight of cross-continent rivals. The medieval trade network stretches like an intricate web across continents, with each intersection signifying a place where the life of a weaver is inextricably linked to broader global currents. Imagine, for example, the vibrant silks coming from the east, gleaming with exotic patterns that seem to shimmer with stories of lands far away. These luxurious fabrics, carried by brave caravans over the treacherous Silk Road, arrive by ship or caravan with much fanfare, their opulence serving as both inspiration and threat. The sheer brilliance of foreign textiles is a double-edged sword. It captures townsfolk's imagination, but also diverts their coin, presenting fair competition with a decidedly unfair sheen. Such fabrics whisper grand tales of distant lands. In candlelit parlors where shadows play amidst delicate folds, they drape across noble shoulders, or adorn courts, unused to their extravagant allure. Their shimmer and sheen, sold by merchants as treasures unknown to local looms. The stories spun about these imports rich, with accounts of mystical lands and exotic customs are as compelling as the woven threads themselves, piquing curious interest and driving demand. The arrival of these foreign textiles forces local weavers to adapt creatively to meet the rivalrous demand. As new styles seduce the eyes of the affluent, domestic artisans must reconsider their designs, colors, and patterns. This desire for novelty births adaptations and innovations within local weaving, each change an attempt to stave off the lure of imported allure. There's a certain playful jest among weavers who say, "If your weave can't reach Constantinople, bring Constantinople to your weave." Historians still debate how this influx of foreign fabrics affected local textile productions. This woven interference, an inspiration buoying local creativity, or a suppression tidal wave breaching loomed ambition. In either case, it challenged domestic weavers, broadening horizons while simultaneously pressing harder against traditional practices. Innovative minds thrived here, as did the tenacity of those whose livelihood depended on perseverance through manifold pressures. But it wasn't just the physical product that presented competition. It was also the merchant traders themselves. Weavers witnessed the growing power of merchants who, with spices, fabrics, and luxury goods in tow, carved out niches in markets across Europe. These savvy traders strengthened connections between far-off places, becoming venture capitalists of their age, with guilds and individual weavers jostling for their attention and favor. Amid these developments, some weavers turned to guilds, seeking stability against this tide of uncertainty. The guild provided a united front against the relentless flux. Others embraced the changing landscape, jumping into the stream of commerce with adventurous spirits, eager to test new styles or blend local aesthetics with foreign influences. The world felt both larger and smaller abroad, with untraveled geographies, yet intimately threaded through shared trade. Navigating this competitive environment required more than outstanding skill. It demanded an understanding of markets, capabilities as a salesperson, and awareness of broader socio-political trends shaping supply routes. The dexterous mind and versatile loom became the foundation upon which textiles echoed both landside echoes and locally housed clamor. Strips composing history across borders spun through delicate lines amid cacophony. In playful spirit, one might say that even as you deftly wove light into fabric, your soul was both merchant and weaver, trading not just with threads and coins, but with ideas and adaptation itself. With every shuttle passed, holding fast led to resilience's bounty-soft opportunity, kindled within scope's expanse, traversed audaciously. Reflecting on these demands, you realize that adequate response requires adaptability and grit, matched with a spirit weaving hope and possibility through perceived constraint. As the sun dips below the horizon, cradling twilight, the fabric of the world is woven broader still with connections beyond loom. Reach fabrics bartered, embraced over handled maps, stretching far-flung, distant as dreams, yet binding spirits within shared enterprise. In this enchanting dance, geographical limits blur with each new dawn, and the weaver's world adapts, rooted in tradition but open to innovation. Your room vibrates with both the past and the present, touched by the rhythm of homemade threads and foreign whisperings intertwined within every weft woven by night's passage. As we delve deeper into the weaver's journey, you find yourself entwined in the fickle whims of medieval fashion realm, where the demand for your craft rises and falls like ocean tides. Between the constraints of tradition and the allure of novelty lies the weaver's true battleground, an unpredictable world of vogue where your carefully woven creations can, at once, soar in esteem or fade into obscurity. Fashion, you see, is a beast with insatiable appetites, always hungry for the new, the bold, and the different. It casts a sly smile upon the luxurious silks with fantastical motifs from the East, just as easily as the familiar woolen comforts of home. The challenge? Predicting what fashion's capricious nature will demand next not an easy feat when today's masterpiece could be tomorrow's forgotten remnant. A well-trodden joke among weavers claims, "What's in today keeps the roof at bay. What's out tomorrow risks the very marrow." In medieval courts and noble houses, fashion was more than simple aesthetics. It was a declaration of wealth, status, and power. Sumptuous velvets, intricate brocades, and richly colored garments signaled affluence and aligned one with current trends. But being a weaver meant you weren't privy to the influences, nor admitted to the grand feasts where such declarations took shape. Instead, you relied on the whispers that dripped like jeweled brooches from the lips of merchants or patrons who, with twinkling eyes, brought tales of Parisian or Venetian vogue. With each new whisper, there came a flurry of frenzied activity in your workshop. Needles moved like daggers fencing fate, rushing to produce new patterns, experimenting with color concoctions to seduce discerning gazes. Yet the reality was that resources, travel distance, and societal positions dictated two paces: fast, flight fashions versus methodical weave, work. This dichotomy ushered in a puzzling jest. The only certainty in fashion is uncertainty itself. Historians often debate whether this cycle of expectation and emergence spurred creativity to unmatched heights within artisan camps, allowing bursts of innovation, or whether it constrained them to compliance with capricious whims rather than ambition's driving flame. Interest piqued by necessity vying against time's trickery danced an age-long tangling waltz. You might find yourself lamenting the volatility of fashion. its vanities upend even the most carefully laid plans. The humor here isn't lost the workbench playing host to mountains of discarded patterns, unsold wares humorously dubbed tomb treasures, or cloths of close-time comforts, with winks bent hard around exasperated smiles. But for each complication, there's a counterpart of creativity. Consider how the hunger for adornment and splendor spurred technological advances both at home and abroad. The desire to emulate those elusive Eastern textiles, for example, drove revamps in dyes, seeking deeper reds, more vibrant blues. The medieval weaver became an alchemist in this endeavor, experimenting with woad and madder, iron and time, each attempt to brush against the edges of extant limits. It wasn't always the yearning for the rare and exotic that dictated trends. Sometimes simplicity triumphed, with rustic textures and natural palettes breathing authenticity into our ever-rolling fashion reel. Even simplest tunics, spun with steady hand and heart, became surviving empire threads, bespeaking all ancestral stories. Here uncovered the idea that within every intricate twisting lay shadows, masking simplicity's Sula notion, poking humor's side, taut with self-effacing pride. Ultimately, the peaks and valleys fashioned by ephemeral trends cultivated both ingenuity and an unyielding spirita, synergy compelling great tenacity within the weaver's soul. Sensing these changes, your fingers flit across the loom with practiced ease, guided by intuition and learned wisdom. You craft, you create, leaping bravely into the turbulent sea of medieval fashion that bids layers of labor with each rising sun-struck wave. As daylight fades, your workshop nestles itself under the protective embrace of darkness. Fashion, in this moment, resides in dreams, forging the next possible demand. There amidst spools and bobbins, you breathe the calming dusk air stoking the coals of inspiration, staving off weariness amid comforting twilight gleams. Await tomorrow's ethereal dictate, tethered by sprigs of courage, and dressed anew with threads bound by unending faith in life's enduring weave. In every quiet beat till day's rebirth, the weaver's hum suggests all fashion is woven first in hope, spun daring against tides unseen. As the medieval weaver's story continues, we delve into a world where every bolt of fabric holds more than its weight in wool or flax. It bears the weight of stories, traditions, and cultural narratives subtly embroidered into its intricate patterns. Welcome to the artistry of weaving designs that go beyond mere decoration, where each motif and thread color becomes a piece of silent poetry that speaks volumes about beliefs, regional pride, and even clandestine dis. Imagine sitting at your loom, the rhythm so deeply ingrained in your muscles that it leaves your mind free to wander. It is here, amidst the myriad crisscrossing threads, that you inscribe your mark upon history. These designs aren't just random flourishes of creativity. They are carefully chosen symbols, each with its own cultural significance that echoes through time, murmuring the collective stories of your people. Patterns can carry religious significance, embodying blessings or warding off malice with designs like interlocking circles or repeating geometric patterns. Such motifs serve as tangible reminders of faith's omnipresence, weaving protection and divine watchfulness into every thread. Consider the humor of a household whose dishcloths boast Providence's designed it, spilled stew, but whispers of fate's keen mischief. Beyond these spiritual renderings lies a repertoire of tales that tread on subtler ground. Often, designs would present familial crests or regional emblems, acting as identifiers or declarations of identity. They turn common tablecloths into banners, unfurled against encroachments of anonymity, a heartening testament to lives threaded across communities. For some, weaving becomes a medium for quiet rebellion. Imagine a world where voicing dissent could lead to dire consequences, a world where subtly subverting expected norms becomes an art form. Here, certain colors or motifs might carry hidden meanings, whispering rarefied secrets amid patterns that seem merely decorative. The tantalizing lore speaks of mischievous motifs, woven as directives, encouraging defiance, the cheeky bird camouflaged amongst foliage, urging all not to fly blind. The weaver's loom acts as chronicler then, the inception of textile storytelling that knit unexpected bonds across time and space. Historians still debate whether encoded messages in these textiles were intentional lore or innocent symmetry misjudged. Nonetheless, the idea intrigues us as we consider what tales these fibers might tell of human resilience hidden between warp and weft. Beyond myth and whispers lie practical endeavor tapestries, serving as educational devices, historically narrating stories in schools, churches, and noble halls. Tellingly, these visual tapestries often blur truth and lore's edges, narrating feats of legendary figures ensconced in echoes still rippling across history's expanse. Here, within embroidered etchings, sprawl stretched shadows of grandeur and valor-filled visions, marking memory extended through medieval halls bathed in golden helios. Weaving isn't just a craft. It's a lineage, a language spoken through hands. Each knot is a word, each row a sentence, and each finished piece an epic. As you weave, you imbue your work with part of yourself, immortalizing fleeting thoughts and dreams in fabric. Even those unnoticed contributions speak loudest during community tapestry viewing, those noble created, illuminating fragments hidden oft behind hallowed walls. You, intrepid weaver, are a keeper of stories untold, the silent bard of woven epics who prepares fabric not solely for utility, but as artistic renderings of cultural verse. Imagine the giggles amid children gathered, learning from visual tapestries behind sarcastic glances and motifs, craftily hiding cheeky defiance, while hope flickers in brightness unfurled across worn hallways and vivid thresholds. As your fingers dance deftly across fibers, remember that this is an ancient dialogia conversation, whispered through an array of knots and threads spun fine. In the shadowy confines of your workshop, amidst the soothing aches of hands well used, you forge links stronger than any chain, binding moments shared and voices echoed far. Cradle softly liquids, coursing breath's empire. Soul's frailties endear poignant verse amid coiled bonds and human breadth. Through the simple act of weaving, you contribute to a centuries-old tradition that stands resilient, echoing tales of strife and triumph, spirituality and rebellion, dreams and reality all seamlessly interwoven into the rich tapestry of life. As you pause and survey the fabric afresh beneath waning light, imagine hearing softly fabled melodies whispered close against silent expectation, leaving one's heart filled complete by tapestry's soft, unyielding embrace. As you traverse deeper into the rich, complex tapestry of medieval life, let us gather at the heart of the village where the intoxicating hum of festivity awaits. Not merely a break from labor's routines, these communal celebrations serve as pockets of joy amid the relentless rhythm of weaving. A medieval festival becomes a kaleidoscope of color, sound, and merrimenta. Joyful reprieve where time itself seems to pause, allowing even the most dedicated weaver a moment's release from the loom's grasp. Imagine the scene, the village square, now bustling and clad in vibrant hues as banners flutter overhead cloth. Streamers stitched with colors bright enough to rival the boldest dyes in your own repertoire. The air ripples with laughter, music not tethered by time, a cheerful escape from the daily grind that permeates the cobblestone-laden ground. Oh, the scent, the glorious aroma of roasting meats, mixed with sweet pastryzan, alluring tapestry of its own that beckons to the belly and spirit alike. Here in this wondrous throng, you find not just fellow weavers, but people from every craft and walk of life, from blacksmiths to bakers, all reveling amidst the liberating raucousness. For a day or two, the tedium of medieval hardship slips away, replaced by the vibrant panorama of performer-suggesters' capering antics and the melodic trill of flutes sending jovial notes soaring into the open sky. In such merry company, even the gruffest neighbor eases, good-naturedly sparring with jibes that flit like shuttle between looms. Weaving your way out of toil again? One might tease over clinking tankards of ale, the conversation steeped in the camaraderie that only shared struggle can forge. Here, there is no hidden agenda nor guild commandments. Humor glows freely amid affectionate bickering among friends, fostered by a shared time's passage and stitched in fiery spools of spontaneous chatter. For a weaver, these gatherings hold the promise of more than mere entertainment. Set aside for fleeting hours is the shuttle's eternal race, its pattern unfolding instead within souls stretched across festive grounds. Among the delights is an informal market of ideas artists and craftsmen displaying inventions, techniques, and tutorials that could spark creativity. You might notice new patterns, inventive uses of fabric, a dyeing process sung through playful tones as embers in holiday's jubilation spark, inspiration's flame. Such festivities serve as timekeepers themselves, marking passages through seasons more distinctly than rational calendars. Observing elaborate rites and games grants a clockwork division from routines felt impossibly eternal. The festival might mark than feast days alone. They grant awe into processions transcending laughter, blessing, indulging freedom, floated dreamscapes seasoned upon tradition's immortal spool. However, while the festival is a time for forgetting burdens, they can harbor risks of excess. Those threading too energetically through revelry's weft might find themselves coping with aftermath's tangled knots, broken curfews, fraying tempers, or overextended resources transformed into unraveling seams faced vigorously thereafter. There's an old saying, "One knit of folly can dismantle whole skeins," reminding artisans to balance one's joyous debauch against tomorrow's more stoic threads. Through festivals, villages crafted memories, weaving history in vibrant threads that stretch between each gathering, fostering traditions adored and anticipated. Historians ponder if patterns shared amidst such gatherings influenced regional aesthetics, if schooled interpretations were crafted anew, or if common hues melded anew, amid wayward complements rendered against cultural blend. As each merriment ebbs, and a sense of normalcy seeks return through busy tomorrow's errands, woven strength unfurls through softened edges, guiding weavers back toward loom stations warmed with camaraderie's sustaining glow. Within these festive interludes, life's ordinary looms stopped long enough, your bond, finding glory not by warped restriction, nor weftish abuse, but by colouring dissonant threads alchemically, with shared humanity matured along laughter's crescent embrace. With festivities weaving life's own unique threads, remember that each burst of jubilation reinforces not mere camaraderie amid workrooms filled with dust, but the warmth of a common touch, resounding through weave and spirit. Take heart in such moments. Savour the aplomb arcing across such gatherings. Live and love through weaving's hopeful strands fabric, woven just as surely upon the loom of medieval seasons, lest while all returns again. The weaver's world, bound by toil and triumph, finds its anchor through festivity, unfurling seamlessly into the grand narrative of time's celebration. In the vibrant and unpredictable tapestry of medieval weaving, daily life is tinged with an undercurrent of vulnerability, most acutely felt in the ever-present threats of plague and pests. These twin spectres loom over the weaver's world as persistent adversaries, reminding you that while you might weave fabric with a masterful touch, you are part of a larger web where health and fortune are eternally precarious. Imagine, if you will, walking through narrow streets where the cobblestones feel cooler underfoot, a crisp reminder of the ever-looming chill of mortality. The air, heavy with dust from bustling activity, mingles uneasily with the more sinister scent of illness's portent. In the quiet moments between the loom's ceaseless clattering, whispers of disease trickle into your awareness. Tales of friends or second cousins brought low by maladies, invisible yet relentless. The dreaded spectre of the plague needs little introduction. This cunning contagion, in waves as unpredictable as the fickle winds, posed a mortal threat to communities across Europe. The plague respects neither age nor status, leaving devastation in its wake. Streets hear the wheeled echoes where carts ferry away contagion's victims, their rattling punctuated by somber incantations uttered to stave off despair. In the workshop, such awareness keeps you attuned to subtle precautions: washing hands. More frequently, burning herbs whose smoke seems to weave a protective veil against unseen miasmas, or generous offerings at church services, beseeching divine intervention. The arrival of strangers, once a curiosity bringing tales and wares from afar, now elicits an unsettling undertone, as fear of contagion colours exchanges once brimming with warmth. In jest, people might say, "The only thing worse than a tangled warp is tangled cough." But no one jested too long at dread, lest incite kin fate with macabre rack, 1,000 toils. Historians continue to unravel the fabric of records hinting at pandemic's true impact. Were these burdens borne predominantly, unrelentingly, or did communities somehow find hidden strengths course amid commingling illness? Beyond illness, pests and parasites pose their enduring challenge. If you give a weaver one fear to lay bare more than neighbors' gossip, it's the insidious invasion of lice or fleas that seek solace within the warmth of woven garments. Lice are as much a dreaded part of life as the taxes or church tithes that claim another part of oneself. While they don't garner the same fear as the plague, they carry their own misery in their persistent itch. These tenacious hitchhikers nest within threads and fabrics, weaving themselves inadvertently into every fiber knot, just causing discomfort, but signifying hygiene's constant struggle. Imagine rich tapestries adorned in gentle fraying edges, clandestine hosts for creatures best shunned. To combat them, weavers would employ meticulous care. Fabrics are beaten, washed, and sunned to draw out and destroy these unwelcome guests. The coiling trepidation of infestation, whether by plague or minuscule, pest unites communities in peculiar ways. Rituals and remedies, often based on a mixture of superstition and empirical observation, are reflections of humanity's ceaseless quest for control amidst chaos. Ritualistic cleansings morph into gatherings where rhyme and song coax humor, even when tomorrow's dark shoes heedless midst today's own vexations. In this delicate interplay between labor and health, the medieval weaver's resilience shines through skilled hands, crafting not only garments for the body, but fabrications girding the spirit. And it is within this vulnerability, shared across all of life's networks, that cooperation blooms. Community networks, while spun of woven frailties framed through resilient bonds, tie ordinary surprises upon thoughtful cross-sections braided tightly, like prayers in newfound relief. As the afternoon sunlight dips beyond rooftops, you pause from the flurry of labor eyes scanning motes dancing through faded light. The hum of the loom quiets to a moment's stillness, breathing softly against memory's quiltroons trailing across autumn's countryside horizon. Life, imbuing each seam with imperfection, wields power neither mined nor measured by metaphysical lineaments upon threshold crossing marks. In these spaces between silence and sound, the weaver's spirit transforms adversity into the very threads sustaining humanity across time. By facing these silent foes, channeling determination beneath nimble fingers, we pay tribute to industrious perseverancy, creative defiance against life's uncertainties that bind us all, till fabric-bound hearts drumbeat by hurdling beat in history's endless loom. As daylight fades and shadows elongate into the evening, your world as a weaver in medieval times becomes shrouded in an aura of mystique and ancient superstition. The darkness brings with it not just the calming hum of nocturnal creatures, but also a tapestry of tales spun from the human imagination, stories of cursed cloth and mischievous spirits that lilt through the cool night air. In medieval society, superstition weaves itself into daily life almost as tightly as the threads bound by your loom. Nightfall, with its enveloping shadows and the eerie play of moonlight on stone, becomes a time when the boundaries between the known and the unknown blur, allowing the secrets of the past to seep into the present. The soft glow of candles flickers like whispers of the supernatural, casting dancing shadows that seem intent on telling tales of their own. The soul of the weaver, having labored over creating functional beauty by day, is now contemplating whispers of forgotten lore, legends, and folk tales that give life to the fabric of the night. These tales often serve a dual purpose of delight and caution, imparting moral lessons or warnings through evocative imagery. Picture the hearth's glow illuminating the face of a weathered storyteller, spinning yarns as rich and textured as the fabrics you weave. Among these tales are those that speak of cursed fabrics, an unsettling idea for any weaver. Stories abound of garments that brought disaster upon their wearers, a wedding shroud that caused a bride's untimely end, or a robe that prompted the wearer to speak only in riddles and nonsense. Such legends suggest that, within the complexity of weave and pattern, lay the vessel for charm or curse, an idea that plays upon your deeply ingrained respect for the craft as more than mere assembly. Then come the mischievous spirits, pranksters of the ethereal realm thought by many to be drawn to workshops after hours. It's said these sprites might meddle with your work, tangling threads, or even weaving a night's toil into chaos before the morning sun peeks over the horizon. Such tales encourage the careful securing of looms each night, a ritual born of both practicality and tradition. Satisfying tendencies, more apt at mingling legend, some would say, than feeding complemented security. These artistic, playful tales coexist with more solemn beliefs. In many communities, it's thought that spirits of past artisans still linger, not maliciously, but in steadfast oversight, ensuring traditions are respected and upheld. For a weaver, perhaps the thought of a ghostly mentor at your shoulder brings comfort more than fright. The notion of timeless guidance, quietly encouraging the craft's evolution. Historians debate whether these beliefs in haunted workshops and spirited tapestries reflect genuine cultural fears or merely an imaginative embroidery atop unfolding human experience. As you ponder this, consider the strength in stories that shape identity even in allegory. They compose enduring havens amid life's otherwise harsh ambitions. Beyond the tales themselves are rituals and charms weavers incorporate into their work. It isn't uncommon to see patterns with protective symbols woven subtly into garments, an amulet of sorts against fate's fickler knits. Within fibers resounding faith and assurance, careful placement of crosses or vines echoes, theology sought gently, speaking volumes never verbalized elsewhere. And so, as the evening wears on and you find yourself trusting your work to the gentle hands of night, there's a sense of connection, not just to those around you, but to the very lineage of weavers past whose stories, superstitions, and spirits gently echo tonight within the whisper of threads and timelessness, tracing moonlit fingers over clutching shadows. As the loom now lies silent, pause to reckon reverent reflection beneath evening's vast countenance. With these echoes, mysterious yet splendid, weavers gain added threads within the grand weave called life, lacing unyielding connection to what is seen and unseen as unity. Mars bewitched alphanumeric rustlings. Within hush reverie, facing legends anew, spools whisper reality through olden heart strands. Patience spun twilight, within weaving wonder. As the soft folds of night give way to the gentle caress of dawn, the relentless march of the day-to-day weaver's life resumes its course. Yet beneath the surface of this seemingly unvaried routine lies a profound exploration of endurance, a testament to the soul's capacity for resilience amid the grey towers of medieval hardship. In every clattering of the loom and every tightening of the warp, there exists a narrative of silent labor interwoven with incredible fortitude. Picture yourself emerging into a world that seems perpetually poised on the brink of austerity, where survival demands every ounce of your energy and resolve. The bite of the morning air greets you as you step into your workshop, already filled with the familiar sounds of industry. Outside, the town stirs with its customary diner rising chorus of voices, the clip-clop of horse hooves, and the distant cry of merchants plying their trades. This is the backdrop against which each day unfolds, a rhythm often unchanged by the aspirations of human hearts. In this world, the weaver's life is a cycle, as predictable as the sun's daily ascent. Each day mirrors the one before, warp threaded, weft past, pattern slowly emerging from chaos. At times, the repetition seems almost meditative, a dance of hands and feet to the harmonics of the loom, each movement as precise as a well-rehearsed chord. While familiarity brings comfort, there's also an achaia yearning for variety, an occasional distraction that promises a break from the relentless sameness. Yet, within these borders of predictability lies an opportunity for mastery and intricate artistry honed with every shuttle's journey across the threads. This dependable routine is where skill transforms into subtle artistry, where each weave emerges from fingers nimblened by experience. Through this articulation, the weaver paints with threads, shifting mundane utility into expressions of beauty that sing to the human spirit. Alongside the mastery comes a keen appreciation for life's simpler pleasures, offering respite from monotony's grasp. The small talk shared with fellow artisans while the madder roots boil, the warmth of the sun on your back as you take a moment to breathe outside. The workshop's confineal are moments of reprieve that form faint strands of joy, threading through work's fabric. Balance between effort and attainment becomes its own reward, a meditative presence amid echoes demanding soothing tenacity. As the sled dog's soul enters rhythm with purpose, transcending drudgery's reach, the process unveils metrical rarity beneath constraint, leading towards self-discovery along untrodden corridors, weaving vexingly counterprised resolve. The psychological toll of such persistent toil is palpable, looming over guild gatherings or whispered conversations between artisans. Encouragement, too, often finds refuge within that unspoken space. Historians delve into whether professions reliant on repetitive motion bore greater metaphysical burdens or, paradoxically, a clarity of purpose achieved through labor, finely tracked between needed cycles of repose and laborious revival-fueled enterprise in dynamic threads hailed by spinning dew-born days. Despite the stoic challenges, the weaver's resilience is fortified by a spirit unwilling to waver, sustained not solely by the output of threaded facades, shimmering as crafted attire over humanity's form, but by resilience, unbraided, even amid threadbare wafting guilds and familial adversity, layering life's often clenched nodes, hallowed amid boundless human embrace. Your fingers humble in silent creation, striving against life's canvas marked anew, each morning in silken defiance erecting between sinews promise against whispered contradictions echoing afar. Challenge forgets progress rendered, hands devoted, forming gracious legacies within textured immortality's clasp over subtle trust, turned fortune's churn. As the sun arcs gently above, draping today's hopes across willing pattern manifest through whisper-worn looms, contemplate these undertows of life learned through perseverance, steadfast, sojourned. Generations endure through lessons learned rhythms, blend earnest textures with purpose, forming enduring past, connecting timeless weave. Homage, vibrant within life's eternal call. Beyond twilight unto crafted shared dream swordless voice, clad echo deep inside memory's cherished need. In this synchrony between expectation and tenacity stands a testament not just to survival, but to a profound human spirit that transforms endurance into artistry woven splendidly across time, revealing itself in the resplendent play of light upon each completed weave as daylight wanes once more. Beneath life's overarching loom, we celebrate this resilience, each thread a silent tribute to steadfast resolve, intertwined with beauty and purpose in defiance of uniformity. As the medieval weaver's world opens up further, we encounter the rich interplay between reality and romanticized legenda tapestry, where story and substance weave together to shape perception and identity. In the chronicles of literature and lore, the weaver often occupies a layered and nuanced space, standing on the threshold between the mundane and the mythical. The tales, both grand and informal, extend their influence as much an expression of aspiration as of the solid earth beneath them. Visualize yourself in the cool recesses of a workshop, the walls lined with softly aging yarns and implements imbued with the patina of generational use. Nearby, on a rough-hewn shelf, sits a dog-eared manuscript or cherished volume of folk tales, blessed with a subtle sheen of familiar dust. This tome, like many in the village, holds within its covers a vibrant confluence of fable, fact, and excitementa compendium of societal reflection poised between teaching and delight. It's here, amid the lore, stories of weavers emerge, their depiction ranging from skilled artisans tethered by labor to magical figures capable of altering destinies with the flex of a spindle or the whisper of warp and weft. Take, for instance, the legend of Arachne, who stood defiant against Athena herself. Her expertise in weaving was legendary, and her tale a sobering reminder of hubris and divine jealousy fable, laden with motifs of creativity, challenge, and consequence that fascinates those who read with nimble fingers brushing against a well-thumbed page. These literary figures are often portrayed as daughters of fate, spinning life's thread, much like the mythic Moirai, imparting in their craft fateful edict, siege tapestry, an invocation of magic that defies temporal bounds. Within each woven thread, they're granted a touch of the divine, reminding you of the spiritual echoes that even in daily toil form the backdrop of human understanding. In contrast, folklore breathes life into more accessible narratives. These stories depict humble weavers who, through diligence, cleverness, and sometimes a touch of cunning, rise above adversity. The tale of the brave little tailor springs to mind, a tale not strictly of weaving, but parallel in its narrative of textile artistry. His adventures through ingeniously inspired bravery embody a certain lively humor, offering moral uplift through a tapestry of triumph, disparately relatable in heart's tuned echo. Here lies the kind of tale-rousing joy shared with rhythm-throbbed hearts, transformative joy beyond youth's song nestled staunch over adversity's quiet, humbled grace. These contrasting visions intrigue history's stewards, leading them to muse whether these romanticized depictions reinforced artisans' societal roles or merely peddled as escapist fare in times of striving. In truth, both facets probably interleave reality with intellectual tapestry, stitching mood and spirit alike, within meshing metallic resilience aligned across today's story's undisclosed yearning. Apart from grandiose myth, there are also the ballads and songs of weavers, a rich oral tradition shared around the hearth, within marketplace bustle, and where community threads are woven tighter still. These sung narratives, sometimes humorous, sometimes mournful, reflect daily life and give voice to collective joys and grievances. Through melody and verse, the weaver's legacy is solidified in the cultural memory, echoed within the timeless cadence of culture's cyclical embrace. You might chuckle at the jest of ballads sung at guild halls, reveling in tales of looms that weave more chaos than cloth, or boastful tales spun larger in jest, over ale-sipping solidarity. One can hardly resist the humor sprinkled deftly between verses, cozying morale like cherished relics whispered over wood's embered hearth. As you ponder these fabled narratives, whether mythic or homespun, envision the weaver's task anew, not merely fabric, spinning, but participating in a more ancient weavinger narrative, one enacted continuously, allowing life's warpings and hopes to resound onwardly through story's subtle embrace. Through integrating these collective tales, one situates weaving as an art form transcending mere craft, propelling its practitioners toward resonate figment-rooted domains both wide-arcing and maternally grounded. As the evening draws in, visions of king's captions or humble artisans balance amid hearth's growing glow, weaving seamlessly into the taps and clacks resonating above silent echoes turned, creating a cycle of narrative as vibrant as the human heart beats both mystical and mortal alike. Within each tale, one encounters aspiration's reflection and reality's stilled potential, lying within protracted ends, wound softly in mankind's soul. There, laid before you, lies the storytelling loomer craft, so reminiscent in whispered tales, stretching not far beyond woven touch or timeless myth, spinning soul caught bonding mythos through thread, as storyteller weavers in tale and dance with time's untouched borrowed grace. Through grand narratives to warm songs danced between shared hands, behold fables grandly root-like in artistry, herein gathered beneath time's quietly textured mantle anew, celebrated content. Pressing further into the intricacies of the medieval weaver's world, we find ourselves among the whispers of change, echoing through cobbled streets and shadowed guild, halls an undercurrent of reform whose faint rumblings hum through shifting years. In the arc of history, even the seemingly immutable threads of tradition sometimes meet the hum of revolution voices rising in demand for change, each fabric-soaked action, sowing subtler narratives of power and potential. In this familiar landscape, where labor intersects with communal bonds, imagine the barely contained energy sparking through small squares and busy marketplaces. Here, beneath understated facades, dissent finds fertile ground among still threadbare spirits burdened within daily toil. Unions of artisans gather not with swords or shields, but with conviction etched into calloused palms and visions bottled for future's assurance. These voices calling for reform resonate particularly in towns where weavers, bound by tradition's frayed edges, long for something beyond that tapestry of tangled constraint. Conversations ripple across tables as guild members talk late into the evening, tracing lines of possibility through the opaque prospects of reform. In these moments, The air grows thick with anticipation, the promise of change tapping lightly against the seams of old routines. Historians engage continuous debate about the impetus. These reformations, spirited heroic marches of progress, or heralded unrest, driving communities' splintered fibers. Here, woven change is less about upheaval wrought by chaotic masses and more about communal evolution through weighted encouragement, shaping societal peace born gently resolute. But change, while necessary, rarely arrives without its own tangle of complexities. As ideals foment against enforced tradition, those holding authority find themselves caught between cultivating reform or maintaining the status quo. A delicate dance unfurls as town magistrates, guild leaders, and the church weigh their roles arbitrators, balancing on a knife's edge, striving to mollify while maintaining control. Take, for instance, the growing influence of worker assemblies, precursors, perhaps, to the more structured unions wedged tightly among modernity's frictions. These assemblies foster an environment where grievances find voice and aspirations take root. Gradually, within these gatherings of kindred artisans, consensual options evolve, dreams of shared advancement, drifting above loomed expanse, both forward and entwine amidst stark attitudes grounded. In keeping with medieval humor, one might jest that even angels get tired of waiting for heaven's reforms, an entreaty worn knowingly by craftspeople yearning for autonomy over simple rote repetition. Protests interlace banter through workshops and squares, revealing tolerance remorseless, yet gracing opens hearts affixed lovingly through dawn's broad heart. Still, reform is tumultuous. There exists the temptation to overreach or oversimplify, seeking quick answers to deeply layered problems. For the weaver standing at the loom, aware of whispers echoing in nearby alleys, resolution appears woven with cautious optimism. Balancing hope and history amidst societal threads untangled is not unlike finding reassurance through steady hands, navigating daily tasks' ceaseless echo. Throughout all of it, there flickers a powerful human spirit, an effusion both patient and tenacious that ripples through communal roots years of striving, fortify the dreamer's tapestry into woven reminders of resilience-bound humanity. Cradled within loom stations past and future, entwined electric potential birthing, futures bred and visioned anew through subscription harness, resilient touch, as night softly stretches tight, its obligations over heartened aspirations, casting lengthened shadows across old halls. Village squares resonate with hushed footfall treads, heeding fair winter's beckonness, with each passage, sparked echo, tuned through memory's lent attention, forming stronger bonds beyond singular soul. From those thoughtful shared circles unwinding weaver's lineage, change spins tirelessly through timeless intersections, where history's hum continues to stitch itself into the fabric of hearts collectively seized. Even echoes of modest reform send shockwaves through the collective soul, reminding weavers of their place at the intersection of craft and community, where the past and the yet-to-be meet in an elegantly unfurling dance of progress. Through thoughtful perseverance, these artisans continue to cultivate a legacy steeped comfortably amid evolution's tender currents, etched happily into their blood a testament to what patience and industry can achieve in whisper-broke ethos, waiting kind-heartedly beside luminal dawn arise. Within the tapestry of medieval weaving, the loom becomes more than an instrument of craft. It morphs into a symbol of domestic interplay, where hearth and home exert as much influence over the weaver's life as the demands of trade and production. Step into this nuanced world, where the boundaries between family responsibilities and professional obligations weave tightly together, forming a lattice of constant juggling and negotiation. Imagine yourself seated at your loom, its rhythmic clatter juxtaposed against the soft murmurs of household activity. The air is imbued with the mingling scents of fresh bread and wood smoke, evoking both comfort and the latent pressures of domestic duties. The workshop, while a bastion of your own labor, is never far removed from the heart of the homesteader space where familial life hums in counterpoint to the shuttle's song. In this medieval setting, home production is not a solitary endeavor, but a symphony involving many hands at once. The boundaries between the personal and professional are deliciously blurred, with children darting in and out around looms, chasing after stray threads, or curling up in cozy corners as the world takes on its cyclical form. The phrase, "it takes a village," comes to life here, capturing the essence of a communal approach to both work and play. The rhythm of weaving cleverly intertwines with the beats of daily life. Meals prepared while fabric sets warp, stories recounted as fingers delicately unravel stubborn knots. Yet, this arrangement, albeit harmonious in moments, extracts its toll, with household chores occasionally demanding as much attention as an over-travelled warp, tentative amid unabated progress through ambition. For the weaver, balancing such competing pressures is fraught with challenges, where moments of respite are rare. There are times when the burdens of home caring for the young, or tending to matters of sustenance crumbles like lost coins into the sidelong cracks of the workday. The expectation to maintain both realms' unceasing clamour precepts, muted art through mundane cadence. Humour, as always, seeps into these duties. A weaver's heartstrings need tuning more than his craft, just those carrying bundles between multi-chamber rooms ancestrally woolen, tied together with sympathy's charm. Here, levity lightens the loom-heavy spirit, fastened amid life's weighty brocade, kindling wonder-spun textures into patterns born from balance, wise-warm acknowledgement within binding family's success tapestry. Despite the challenge, there remains an incredible richness in this entwined existence, where love and labour become intricately linked. The act of weaving within a family framework transforms into a lived heritage, where young ones learn not only skills of the hand, but lessons of the heart. Even as the demands of weaving press, they see the pride in production, the familial bonds created around shared tasks, and the enduring strength that comes from community. The intangible rewards of growing up within this framework become evident over time, as generations of weavers pass down their knowledge in both spoken word and inherited action. Children learn by doing, taught by observing grown-ups who pour skill into this craft lovingly, while whispering tales of courage earmarked for hopeful futures molded against time's efflorescence and trial-sown goodwill. Historians often wonder at whether familial pressures, created by intertwined duties, indeed solidified homes as cultural hubs reflecting broader societal trends, or forged bonds, demonstrative only in isolated workshop embrace, yet echoing beyond locality's comfort. Such musings evolve held heart-long by nodding witnesses, bonded charm, high imagining those gathered communal years. As the evening sky stretches across ancient rooftops, the day concludes, not with fanfare, but the resonant satisfaction of work accomplished within life's enduring framework. Between the clatter and calm, you find solace rare, sacred space of acceptance, where both family and duty coexist, bound within tangible woven threads. Each grain of wool stretching, tight, conveying resilience, such enduring fortresses modified by love's radiance, amid time's traced embodiment, richly shared through subtle implication, grown unseen, seeing a past mounting dusk-hue envelope. Within this ever-constant dance between domestic duties and professional toil, the weaver crafts more than cloth. They weave a living testament of family and community, a call and response set within the echoes of the loom. Each thread leverages togetherness, carving delicate alchemy, blending sound and silence against life's earthen forms, wrapped firmly to future's reach. There dwells the human spirit steadfast upon the woeful forge with humility, wit, and tradition traced. Amid laughter-breaching memories vibrant gather. In the evolving narrative of weaving, the echoes of the medieval weaver's life reverberate across centuries, reaching into the fabric of today's textile industries and shedding light on the threads that bind past toil to modern triumphs. This long view across time invites contemplation on how the struggles and innovations of those ancient artisans resonate within our contemporary world, revealing profound connections between their history and our daily lives. As you sit before your loom, imagine it transforming from its sturdy medieval frame into a sleek, high-tech contraption of today, an emblem of progress, driven by technology and efficiency. The transition from hand-operated looms to automated machines signifies leaps in productivity, yet the heart of weaving retains its timeless rhythm. The tactile joy of textile creation, once the realm of select craftsmen, is now accessible to a global audience, empowered by digital advancements and global networks. In this fast-paced world, the quaint customs and meticulous handcrafting of medieval times might seem distant, yet they whisper through the weaves of today's industry. Consider each piece of clothing adorning modern shoulders, whether mass-produced or meticulously hand-stitched, it holds within its fibers the legacy of those early weavers, encapsulating both innovation and tradition in its folds. The evolution didn't occur in isolation. The medieval weavers' guilds, with their protective regulations and communal solidarity, laid the groundwork for modern labor rights and trade unions. The tension between tradition and change, witnessed by those early textile workers, finds echoes in today's debates surrounding workers' rights in the sprawling factories of the global South. Here at this intersection, the quest for autonomy and the drive to safeguard the craft endure a narrative as much about people as the products they create. Moreover, the impact of technological innovation in textiles mirrors the challenges those medieval weavers faced. Rapid globalization presents both opportunity and challenge, with ethically sourced materials and sustainable practices gaining importance, just as the medieval weavers sought local materials to forge reliability in resource-scarce times. This parallel is striking. Modern weavers now echo the ancient plight, balancing the pressure of mass production with conscientious craft. As history unfurls its age-old records, there remain debates on how the legacy of early textile production influences our global economy. Did the strategic shifts during the medieval era direct the fabric market's meteoric rise? Or, as some historians ponder, reflect harmonious oscillations of cultures threading through shared appreciation of artistry weaved within collective destiny? Beyond the trade routes and labor practices, the artistry that marked medieval textiles also forges connections to contemporary craft movements. The desire for personalized, handmade creations has found a resurgence, with artisans turning to ancient techniques like natural dyeing and hand looming to meet a growing demand for authenticity and cultural storytelling. This continuity speaks volumes about the desire for connection beyond sheer practicality, a woven narrative interlacing emotion, beauty, and identity that ancient weavers would undoubtedly recognize. As you ponder these connections, feel the hum of history, beneath the hum of the modern loomer reminder that every automatic machine was once operated by hand, and every synthetic dye had its roots in a garden of herbs. This thin thread between the past and present is as fragile as it is resilient, weaving through time to remind us of the persistent human spirit. In the soft light of an ending day, consider how the diversity of patterns and the interplay of colors span time, reminding us of the enduring human need to create, adapt, and express. The lessons of medieval weavers urge us to hold space for craft and craftsmanship, to honor our shared history, even as it propels us forward into an unknown future. Through this journey across warp and weft time's grand tapestry, see the reflections of past lives that frame our present narratives and envision tomorrows seamlessly enriched by such legacies unyielding. What began as necessity, transformed by relentless ingenuity into a craft woven within human lineage, legacy, our hands touch no matter the loom's evolution or era's cadence extended. The intertwining of history and progress among these threads builds a bridge across ages, celebrating the meditations upon resilience and creativity, turned into garment and story woven together across generations that connect us all, eternally resonating through the ages. That ever-resilient fabric remains, across ages deep. The weaver's world persists, eternally recast through the persistence of threads both unyielding and decidedly human. As we reach the culmination of our journey through time, the story of the medieval weaver unfolds like the final threads being carefully tied off on a well-loved piece of fabric. Each story we have shared constitutes a unique thread in a larger tapestry, a narrative woven deeply into the human experience, a tapestry that continues to expand through the ages. The story of weaving is not just a tale of technique and craft. It is one of resilience and creativity, intertwined with the struggles, triumphs, and daily lives of those who navigated the challenges of their times. The medieval weaver, bound by the constraints of their era, yet inspired by their creativity, stands as a symbol of the human spirit's capacity to endure and adapt. Through candle-lit workshops and bustling market stalls, their hands spun dreams into tangible reality. As you trace your fingers over the patterns of this unfolding history, the vibrant dyes of medieval looms bring to life stories of community, fortitude, and ingenuity. There is humor in the mundane, warmth in the shared struggles, and a gentle wisdom passed down through the echo of centuries. The loom, a testament to the intertwining of life's daily rhythm with purposeful creation, resonates with timeless lessons drawn from every tug and pull of the shuttle. So let us pause for a moment, in this quiet space where narration gives way to reflection. In a world that moves swiftly and often forgets to linger, we rest our minds on the vast interplay of history and humanity. Every effort, every design, is a testament to the endurance of the human spirit, a legacy rich with woven narratives that offer comfort or inspiration. As we gently unspool the layers of this ancient craft, we find common threads that illuminate our shared journey. These threads weave a fabric of life both precious and enduring, speaking of resilience as much as artistry, harmonizing the narratives of the past with the hopes of the future. Each weaver, past or present, finds themselves held within nature's loom, bound by reflective time's valiant course. The shadows lengthen and the workshop quiets, the irregular clatter of the loom silenced in the soft hush of night. Let the familiar embrace of your surroundings draw you gently back from history's woven corridors to the comfort of your own world. Imagine the whispers of time tenderly retreating into the background, their stories luminescent, as you drift into a peaceful reverie. In these final moments, as you sink into the gentle thrum of relaxation, remember, just as the medieval weaver intertwined history and craft, human experiences continue to weave rich tapestries of life even today. Each experience, each moment, forms part of a grander designer masterpiece as alive and evolving as the endless saga of the loom. Here, beneath the vast celestial tapestry that mirrors your own place in time's weave, feel the assurance of connection to the heritage passed gently through nimble fingers, bound indelibly through generations. History's whisper softens to a lullaby, soothing cares as you float within its gentle embrace. May these woven tales accompany you softly as you journey into rest, echoing the tireless harmony of life's enduring pattern, a timeless refrain, as comforting as a familiar, well-worn cloth. Sweet dreams.